evening's topic, yeah, which is something very much after my own heart. So let's get started, okay, without further ado. Okay, let me just share the slides. Okay, let's get started. Not for got to enjoy some Shanghai jazz, okay. Okay. So this is actually this evening's topic that I'll be talking about, preventing the three highs. We all know that this is a topic very much, not just in Singapore, but actually in many, many countries, not just in Asia, but all over the world, okay? Now let's get started, right? I mean, do any one of us, I think many of us would know, or maybe a parent, a sibling, a close friend, a colleague, oh, maybe a loved one, who has who's been living right now with, I would say, maybe high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol. Oh, I'm sure I know many people in my own family who actually have issues like that. Okay, so for today's topic, I'm just going to go through and give you a very brief layman introduction as to what is the three highs, just in case you're not very familiar with it, and of course you recognize some of the risks that comes with having the three highs. Now, understanding the impact that is important. And more important, at the end of it, is there a solution that all of us can take a look at? Okay, so this is really going to be the theme of my topic for this evening's talk. Okay, now let's start by introducing to you what the three highs are. Okay, now we always hear the word three highs in Chinese, okay, san gao, right? So we start with the first one, right? The first one is really what we call having high content of sugar in your blood. Okay, I mean in the medical term, it's either called diabetes, or if not serious enough to be a diabetic condition yet, doctors may call it a pre-diabetic. In a nutshell, to explain it, it's basically too much sugar in the blood. You can think about it, when you have too much sugar in the blood, your blood kind of turn very thick and sticky. And in the process, because of the sugar in your blood, it does damage your blood vessels. So as a result of it, your blood vessels does become weaker. And you can think about it, it's like sandpaper, it becomes rougher inside. Okay. Now, the second high is something we call high cholesterol. Now, in medical term, it's just called hyperlipidemia. Okay, a pretty big word, but essentially what it just means that there's too much fats inside your blood, right? Now, what does this fats do? When you have too much fats in your blood and you have your, blood vessels being damaged, you get these fats start to find themselves very easily sticking to the damaged area on your blood vessels. And, if they form over time long enough, they form something called plaque, which is kind of like hardened fat. And that's where when it becomes that, your blood vessels become narrower and in the event become clogged up. Now, the third high is something we call high blood pressure. In medical term, it's just called hypertension. Now, generally what happens is that, when your blood vessels are narrow, start to get narrow or very stiff, and the heart got to work harder to pump the blood through, that's when you find that your blood pressure goes up, right? And in the process of doing that, your blood vessels actually, not only do they get strained, they also get further damaged. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is really what the three highs are really all about, right? Now, let's start with the first thing called high blood pressure. Okay, so on the left, these are your typical readings. You go to the doctor, then they put a high blood pressure monitor on you, then they tell you those readings called 120, 80 type of stuff. Now, generally, it's when, you see where I mark out the red box, is when your blood pressure gets to this type of reading, that's when you need to really be careful, right? And do something about it. Now, the scary thing about high blood pressure is a lot of times, if you don't really go and measure it, you can't really feel that, you have high blood pressure, right? Most people have high blood pressure, feels like, oh, I'm okay type of thing, but not knowing that the high blood pressure is high. And of course, some of the dangers of having that includes things like stroke, heart attack. If it's get bad enough, it can damage your kidney, and sometimes you lose your vision. And of course, with all the constant pressure on the blood vessel, it does weaken your artery. So this is high blood pressure. This is how you know that whether you have high blood pressure. Okay. Now, what about high blood sugar or diabetes or pre-diabetes? We call it the street danger. Okay. So again, you go to do a blood test, sometimes you can do it at home yourself, and then readings come out. And this is when you need to be careful. When your readings drop into this range, that's when doctor will diagnose you as whether you are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Now, of course, some of the warning signs, if some of you haven't gone to do your blood test yet, could be certain signs could be like this, right? You find yourself going to the toilet very often, unusually thirsty, you keep on wanting to drink water, or you feel tired, or sometimes your vision feels a bit blur. Now, be careful, especially for the older folks, when they find that, you have wounds and then the wounds take long time to heal. And sometimes you also feel some sort of feeling of tingling on the hands and feet. That's when the nerves are signaling to you something's not quite right. Okay. Now, the danger with high blood sugar is really, it affects millions and millions of people in this world. And unless you do blood tests and test it out, a lot of people actually don't know they have it. Okay. Now, the good thing is, of course, if you catch it early, it is reversible. You have the right sort of support for it, the right sort of solutions to address it. And what's more scary is, if you don't manage your diabetic well, it is actually the leading cause of people going blind, leading to kidney failure, and worst case things like amputation, which means you either get your limbs cut off. Okay. And finally, for high cholesterol, right? I mean, again, many people have symptoms of high cholesterol, but if you don't go and measure or you don't do your blood test, you don't really know about it. Now, this is really where the clots, okay, the fat start building up in your blood vessels, and then you find that blood finds it harder and harder to go through. Now, for cholesterol, there's two types, right? There's what we call the good cholesterol, which is really what we call the HDLs, and it's the LDL, which is really known as the bad cholesterol. This is the one that can actually get stuck on your walls of your blood vessels, and they kind of get built up. And if you go and look at your cholesterol reading, what it means to be healthy will be all the readings down there that you can actually see what I've actually put down there. Okay. Of course, the danger is this, right? If these clots get built to the point where one day suddenly the blood can't go through, and that is really when people get what we call either heart attack or stroke, depending on where the blockage happens. Okay, so this is really the danger of where high cholesterol comes in. Okay, if you don't control it well, right? So it leads to this thing called atherosclerosis. Okay. Now, it's interesting because if you look at the Singapore insurance claim data, they find that a lot of their claims, right, 90% of what they call the critical illness that gets claimed by insurance actually just comes from these 5 different types of what we call health condition, right, ranging from cancer, you realize down there, heart attack, artery bypass, which means it's blocked, and also stroke. This is very closely related to the 3 highs that we're going to talk about. And of course, the 3 highs can also lead to, premature kidney failure. So that's why I would even say kidney failure in some ways is also related to the 3 highs if it's not controlled well. Okay, that's the reason why it's so important, right? Now let's look at some of what causes the 3 highs. I think this is important because, if we want to understand a solution around it, we need to understand what causes it. Now, a lot of time, genetics can be one of them. Family history, the high cholesterol runs in the family, so it gets carried over and so forth. But although genetics is one of the reasons, but bear in mind that lifestyle choices can often be more detrimental than, just genetics lah. Okay. Now, aging definitely, right? As we age, our metabolism slows, and whether you like it or not, our arteries start to be hardened and stiffen up. And and medical records have shown that after age of 40, our body do develop what we call insulin resistance, right? So these are some of the causes. Now, some of the more common ones I would say is really poor diet, right? If you have a diet that's full of salt, a lot of sugar, a lot of trans fat, eat a lot of hawker food, and processed food is probably one of the worst, and sugary drinks. Really poor diet, I think, is one of the biggest cause of 3 highs, right? And inactivity, when we eat and we don't exercise and we don't get rid of all the calories that we put in, a lot of what you call, or you're stuck to a desk job because you work very long hours. Now, this is again one of the causes where it actually makes your condition get worse and worse. So inactivity or laziness or whatever you might call it is also a big cause of it, right? Now, I have to probably mention this chronic stress, right? Stress is a big cause of health issues, not just not just for tree highs, but also for many other different causes, even I would say things like cancer and so forth. So chronic stress, especially in very countries where, work pressure is high, or people, live very stressful lifestyle, you tend to find that, tree highs are very common, right? And of course, finally, poor sleep. Yes. Sleep is one way that where our body actually repairs itself. And if you have poor sleep or you sleep late or whatever, what we call sleep deprivation, it actually disrupts things like, the insulin forming in your body, your blood pressure regulation, and so forth. So now these are really very common causes of what we call the tree highs. Okay, so think about it, even for yourself or your loved ones, how many of these that we are all guilty. If now I'm equally guilty on some of these, okay, things like sleep and things like sometimes, diet and things like that. Okay, so these are really some of the causes of tree highs. Now so again, remember your daily choice plays a huge factor, right? Now, let's look at why these three highs, right, are so dangerous when they're all combined together. And then after I explain to you, then you realize that, all these three highs are not independent condition by themselves. They're actually very closely related. Okay, now, a lot of time it start with high blood sugar, okay, due to diet or whatever it is. Now, what happens is you think about it when there's a lot of sugar in your blood. You can think about sugar is like sandpaper, inside your blood. And what this sandpaper does, it damages the linings of your blood vessels. So, your blood wall, the walls of your blood vessels gets damaged. Now, when it gets damaged, what happens is it become very rough, right? The surface of the blood vessels become very rough. And because when it become very rough, it makes it very easy for cholesterol. So if there's a lot of cholesterol, bad cholesterol in your blood, it makes it very easy for the cholesterol to get stuck to the wall. Okay. So you can see a picture down there, right? So these are very early stages where the cholesterol kind of gets stuck to the part of the wall which is very rough. Now, so when you have a lot of bad fats or bad cholesterol in your blood, what happens over time? This cholesterol gradually build up, right? It's just like it just keeps patching on itself, and eventually it starts to harden up and form this thing called plaques. And it's this plaques that actually, as you grow more and more of it, it actually narrows down your blood vessels. So if I were to show you the diagram, you can see that where the cholesterol starts building up and starts to harden up, now it actually becomes a bigger block, right? When it becomes a bigger block, it tends to harden up. Now think about it, it's like a pipe, right? When the pipe is very narrow, now in order for your body to pump the blood through a narrow vessel, now your heart has to work harder. Your heart has to pump super hard in order to force the blood through, because now you are forcing it through a much more narrow blood vessel. And because you are forcing it through, this is when you start to find your blood pressure going up, right? So this is when vessels become very narrow or very stiff, the blood pressure goes up. And because of this blood pressure goes up, it's like you are constantly putting pressure on the blood vessel walls. Over time, it also damages the walls. And when it damages the walls, it gets worse, right? Because your walls get rougher, you got more cholesterol getting stuck to it. So more damage basically leads to worse blood sugar control. And this becomes, narrower and narrower. And this is where it becomes what we call a very vicious cycle. That's why we always say the tree high is a long-term problem. Over time, it just gets worse if you don't do anything about it. And, over time, it can get to a point where it becomes then very serious. Now, let's look at some of the dangers, right? If we leave this condition unmanaged, what might happen to you, right? This is common: heart attack, right? Stroke. Now, vision loss. Yes, vision loss, is actually, one of the major causes is actually the tree highs. Kidney failure, yes, in the longer term, many of the tree highs patients find themselves, having kidney condition. And if they don't control it well and so forth, it does lead to things like dialysis. So when you have your kidney failing, right? Now, this is more serious because it can also damage nerves, and when you damage your nerves, it can get to a point where you lose sensation in the nerve. And of course, for some of the very bad condition, you probably hear of diabetic patients that actually has amputation or some parts of their limbs get cut off. So these are really some of the symptoms. So the impact can really be very serious. It can be what we call life altering, right? Now, if you think this is only something that happens in a Western country, well, let's think again, it actually has reached epidemic level across the whole of Asia. Just look at diabetes, right? This is a 2024 statistics. Basically in Singapore, 1 in every 8 Singapore adults has diabetes. So if you look at the number of people on your screen right now and you calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, high chances that the 8%, one among of these 8 actually has diabetes. And if you can look at it, right, in all the Asia Pacific countries, even in Cambodia, in Philippines, in Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, has a proud record of like going up to 11.6%. It's actually very bad in Malaysia, right? It's almost running up to 20% in Malaysia. It means 2 out of every 10 people, right? Now, what about high cholesterol? They say that in Singapore, 35% of Singaporeans, okay, easily have high cholesterol if you are past the age of 50, okay? Really scary. And talk about high blood pressure. 1 in every 3 Singaporean adults, more or less has high blood pressure. And yeah, that's a very scary statistics, right? I've looked it up and I think the statistics are not getting any better, okay? And it's interesting because even things like strokes, right? We used to think that stroke is only something that happens to the older people. And I took this off one of the news in Singapore. It actually says that, stroke is also happening among younger people. And, one of the underlying reason or risk factors includes, you can see down here, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and smoking. Okay, so it's not just happening to the older people, it's also happening to the younger people. And one of the thing is, kidney failure, as I was talking about, is also one of the causes you can look about is that high blood pressure, diabetes. So you realize there's a very common trend happening, right? The three highs actually give cause to a lot of issues. And I just took this off the Kema Times, which is in Cambodia. You realize all the countries have same problem, whether it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and so forth. So this is really I would say at the epidemic level, not just across Asia, I guess across the whole world too, right? So I always say this, the prevention is really always better. And in fact, over a longer period of time, prevention is actually cheaper than cure. Okay. For those of you who have know that loved ones who have gone into hospital because of stroke, because of, very bad diabetic condition, actually do spend a lot of money just trying to, get themselves well again. Right. Now, over here, I would just like to stop for a while and say, look, on a scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 being not so confident, 10 being you're in complete control. Now, how well do you think you are controlling your three highs right now? Okay, now just type inside the chat group, between 1 to 10, okay? Give you a quick 20 seconds, okay? Go to the chat group and then just key your numbers in and take a look at the numbers. Okay, yeah, I can actually see the chat here. Okay, can I see some numbers coming in? Oh, 5, 8, 7. Oh, okay, good. Wow, some of you are actually having very good control of it. That's good. Wow, it looks like we really have a good bunch of people who actually know how to take care of themselves. Okay, we do have some neutral people in the fives and so forth. Oh, good. In fact, there's a lot of things that I can learn from all you guys then. Okay, good. Okay, let's get on with it. Uh, So you can realize that, there's a fair bit of numbers. Some of you, probably have better feel of it. Some people are not so feel of, hopefully some of you after today's, lesson, you walk away wiser. Okay. Now let's look at some foundation. Okay. Starting with healthy habits. Okay? And what I'm going to say is nothing new. Okay. I think, you probably hear it enough from whether it's from YouTube, from doctors or whoever, but, I'm just going to reiterate again, some basic foundation, really diet. I think doing diet is really one of the biggest cause of tree highs. So some of the guidelines is really no processed food. Typically, I always say that if I pick up a pack of things and I read the ingredient and I couldn't recognize 90% of what I'm reading, basically it's processed food lah. Okay, I would say. Now, reduction in salt and sugar and saturated fats, these are really some of the very, very, not everybody knows about it, right? Eating more vegetables, and then eating whole grains, lean protein, and so forth. So watching your diet is one of the major thing that can really help with the three highs, right? I would say exercise. right? Target at least 30 minutes of, I would say, moderate activity daily. Now, you don't have to be a marathon runner. I will say even brisk walking, right? Start, if right now you haven't exercised for a long time, maybe start small, right? Start 10, 15 minutes of walking, right? It makes a difference. Eventually work yourself up to 30, 40 minutes of what we call brisk walking. It can indeed make a lot of difference, right? Because it helps to burn the calories, to get all the blood and chi moving again. Okay, so exercise is important, right? Now, I couldn't emphasize this enough. Stress, right? I know it's tough for those of you who are in the corporate lives, working long hours, and given especially current scenarios where, economy is kind of tanking and so forth. A lot of people are very stressed. You know, I would say that, learning how to de-stress, having a way to de-stress, now, be it whether it's yoga, meditation, take up Tai Chi, or even take up some hobbies that, help relax you and help, bring some cheer into your life is important, right? It's actually chronic stress which causes your body to have a lot of inflammation, okay? And sleep, yes, minimum 8 hours of quality sleep, and sleeping before 11 is important, right? For those of you who knows that I'm also a meridian therapy trainer, between 11 o'clock to, 2. No, that's where your body detoxes, your liver and your gallbladder detoxes. So it's actually good to sleep before 11 p.m. Now, also getting good quality sleep, because it's only when you get to good quality sleep, your body repairs itself, right? Your body regulates the insulin, it keeps your blood pressure in check. So, you find yourself getting very hard to sleep or you have a lot of insomnia, do be careful, because, it can be a major cause of for your health to continue to deteriorate. Now, what I've said is nothing new. Right? All of us know this, right? But knowing and doing is different, correct? Right? A lot of us know that, oh no, we should exercise, but when it comes to reality, we don't, right? And the thing is, aging does make it harder, right? Especially when you end up with condition like bad knees, constantly feeling tired and stuff like that. You say that, yeah, it's easy to say, but it doesn't. It's difficult to do, especially when it gets to age. So the question is, what if there's additional support that could help all this? Now, this is where it's interesting, because we are getting into what I'm going to introduce to you, a Swiss cell therapy approach. Now, this is really a science-backed cellular nutrition, and I think this is very well geared for what we call the modern lifestyle. Okay, our lifestyle where there's a lot of stress. We find ourselves constantly begging to get sleep, and I think by complementing it with this Swiss cell therapy approach, it can be very useful. Now, bear in mind, this is not a drug and it's not a miracle cure. Okay, it's not going to be something that you take and tomorrow or 1 week later you're going to be all good. Okay, it takes time. I'm going to explain to you, the sciences, but I find that this is a smarter way to support your body, right? From the inside out, and what I call right at the cell level. Okay, because this approach will help your cells to repair, regenerate, and rejuvenate themselves. And I find that this is formulated for everybody who's facing what I call the three highs problem, right? The good thing is there are clinical studies, and what I'm going to share with you, these are what we call premium natural ingredient. And because it's from Switzerland, rest assured there's quality, safety, and effectiveness. And I must say this is designed to complement, not replace healthy habits. Okay, healthy habits are what I just mentioned a while ago. Okay. So I call this my three highs defense system. Okay. Now let's jump straight into it and get ourselves introduced to first, what is saliva. Okay, sit back and enjoy.
People today have gained a stronger consciousness about health. However, they too face increasing pressure.
Oops. Do y'all see the video? The video didn't seem to play. Oh. Okay, let me.
People today have gained a stronger consciousness about health. However, they too face increasing pressures and anxiety in life. These unseen pressures,
Kate, the video is not
coupled
playing.
with environmental pollution and unhealthy living habits,
Is it
such
playing
as
now?
smoking, alcoholism, reducing sleep, etc., will cause a great health crisis to you, potentially leading to a loss of appetite for some, while others skip meals completely. Even if you consume all varieties of fishes, meats, vegetables, fruits, vitamins A to Z. Are you eating healthily? You slowly become obese, bloated, and fatigued, losing your physical strength over time. Every day, you sit at your desk at work, and when you are home, you sit in front of the TV. You hardly to move around, not to mention exercise, accumulating body fat and cholesterol in your belly and hips day and night. With each passing day, your physical fitness declines, and aging comes creeping in early. Your internal organs and blood vessels get covered by fat and cholesterol. They accumulate to form plaques that block and hinder the smooth flow of blood in your arteries. The blood vessels of the human body are responsible for transporting oxygen and other important nutrients to all parts of the body. When the vascular flow is hindered, it leads to insufficient blood circulation to the heart, insufficient oxygen to the brain, insufficient supply of nutrition, most importantly protein, to the cells of the entire body. Issues such as fatty liver and cognitive decline could set in. Potentially, the situation can worsen, leading to strokes and heart disease, etc. Enter Cellava, an exclusive multifaceted proprietary supplement from Switzerland. Cellava can help you lower cholesterol, fatty plaques along with other harmful effects in your body and blood vessels. Cellava's global exclusive proprietary formula, phosphocholine complex, promotes a healthier, more vibrant you by supporting cellular, cardiovascular, liver, kidney, gastrointestinal, and cerebrum health. It is especially powerful in getting rid of stubborn belly fat, helping you lose weight for a slimmer, healthier body. Cellava is Swiss-made in compliance with GMP and ISO standards. 100% plant formula, non-genetically modified, gluten-free ingredients, sophisticated scientific research, experienced R&D team, quality assurance, excellent performance. Cellava, the exclusive proprietary supplement for a vibrant and active you.
All right. Now I'm just going to jump straight in and explain why is it so effective. And the video is very informative, but I'm just going to touch on a couple of key points, right? Why is Cellava so effective? Now, one important thing that is because this is actually created in Switzerland, and the Swiss are known to be one of the best makers of supplement. So it's really the science of how they blend the ingredients together, right? Especially the purity of it is what makes it so effective. Okay, so now Cellava itself basically is what we call a phosphocholine complex, a very mouthful of word, but just think of it as a choline complex, right? With what we call a mixed tocopherol, which is actually used to transmit, right? So just important first thing is the way it's blended by the Swiss makes it very potent. Now, second thing, the Swiss are known for many years for their quality and safety, right? And one of the things that make this choline complex so potent is because of its purities through the Swiss technology that's able to build the choline complex to a very high purity. And this choline is actually extracted from what we call non-GMO soybean shoots, okay? And that's important, right? Now, of course, all these are just the toxins. So what does it actually do, right? Now, this is actually backed up by a lot of research that's actually done by a very famous anti-aging professor from Switzerland, right? He actually published the books that actually talk about what it does. Okay, now it actually helps to rebalance back the body's cholesterol. It helps to restore the health function of your liver, and it promotes good vascular health. And that's important because all these are related to the three highs. Now let's look at the first thing, which is promoting the healthy liver function. So what does it actually do? Remember the phosphocholine complex. Now, when you have a high level of good phosphocholine inside your body, what it does, it actually helps the liver it encourages the liver to remove visceral fats. And this is important because for many of us who has fatty liver, this is a very, very good news instead, right? So it helps to remove visceral fats. It prevents liver fat from accumulating, right? And more important, it helps the liver to detox itself. Now here I'm going to invite a very good friend, Josephine, to share her own stories and her own experiences. Josephine, can I invite you to share your story?
Yes, it's not my story, my husband's story. Sure, okay. Maybe you want to change to another, yeah, okay. So my husband actually, since 18 or 19 years old, his cholesterol, the family cholesterol history is very high. Since 19 years old, he's having this cholesterol level is like 300 something. So never come down. So he did like exercise every day. And then he also do whatever things supposed to do, but the cholesterol never come down. So basically, every time when he go for this health check, the doctor will every time keep telling him you must start taking cholesterol medication. But he knows that medication will cause me long term. Actually, has a lot of side effect. The one is when you old, the dementia or is Alzheimer is very terrible. So he refused to take. So basically, he just regularly exercise. So he proven exercise will not lower down your cholesterol, but diet it will, but it doesn't help a lot. Until when our Celeva came up, then I share with him, this one can lower your cholesterol. He said, true or not? I say, you try lah, know how to try, right? So he start taking. So basically, he just taking like half year, 6 months. And he's like taking like maybe 5 times a week. Then right after that, we just go for the medical checkup. Wow, surprisingly, that one when the doctor, before we go into the room to see a doctor, so doctor see him already say, hey, you must start taking medication because your cholesterol is always very high. So my husband say, you take a look for my report first lah. Then the doctor take a look for report. How come this time around you are everything all normal? He's so surprised. It's the first time ever his reading is much better than me. So he was surprised. I was surprised also. So he now like diligently to take in the Celeva. Yeah, that's my sharing. And then I hope those people, if you have a high cholesterol, yeah, give it a try. It's really different. And the sister heard what he say. The sister is also a person like she will check and then read and then very detailed, very particular for the ingredient or whatever. So she checked everything and then my husband shared with her after like maybe 2 months or 3 months, she diligently go and read everything. One day she called me, can I try your Celeva? So now because her cholesterol also very high, it's like 300 something. So she now also getting better. Yes, I haven't got her report yet, but she's every month is taking Celeva. That's my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. That's very good news indeed, right? For those of you who exercise, control diet, still cannot get your cholesterol down, there's hope after all, okay? Now I'm going to share another story with you. This is from Ziling, okay? Ziling was one of the very first people when we first introduced Celeva to actually try Celeva. And Ziling has fatty liver. So I'll let Ziling tell you more about her story, okay? Come, Ziling, share your story.
各位朋友，大家好，我是子玲。退出娱乐圈已经18年了。这18年里面呢，我就在13年开了一个 Cherry Pink Music Bar。在这期间呢，我发生了一点点小意外，脚骨就断了。然后呢，那时很辛苦的时候，我就常去找一个老朋友喝茶，他就介绍了一个产品给我，叫 Shalagen。他说：“你吃吧，子玲， 吃了之后呢，对你的骨骼增长有帮助，复合也有帮助，然后让你有体力去做那个复健。你知道我们每次做 physiotherapy 都很痛，无形中我就在不知道的情形之下，我吃了6个月的那个 Celagen， 哇，真的，我就身体好了，骨骼也长了，就是复健也没有这么辛苦了，人也精神了，气质也好了，然后我真的很感谢这个朋友，真的很感谢他，所以我吃了 Celagen 吃了也很多年了。你知道啦，做夜生活都是日夜颠倒，又要喝酒，都要喝酒的嘛，那导致我的胆固醇也很高，我的脂肪肝那当然不用讲了，不在话下，肯定就是不行的。总而言之，身体的状况就是不是很好，很臃肿。直到2019年行情不好的时候，我就结业了，不做了。然后停业之后，我又再去找我的女朋友了，就找她喝茶了。反正没上班嘛，轻松，我去找她。我进到 office， 她就跟我讲：“子琳啊，你干嘛？这么胖，这么臃肿，整个人肥肥肿肿的。”我说：“哦，当然嘛，我说我喝酒嘛，就是这样的嘛。我现在没上班了。”说：“你真的太胖了，你不行。我公司来个新产品。”瑞士来的 Celeva 介绍你，就丢了给我，也没讲什么，我就拿回家去吃了。刚好我每年的例行检查就验血嘛，报告要去验血了，那个医生就叫我去验血，抽了血之后3天后我去看 report， 医生就告诉我没怎么样，哇，我认识你这么久，从来没有看到你的血验出来这么好，这么漂亮，你的血这什么都很正常。我说是吗？你的那个胆固醇没有了，你的那个脂肪肝没有了，你是吃什么？我说没有啊。哦，你肯定有运动，你什么？我说没有我什么都没做，我最懒运动。我就自己讲，可能是我没喝酒吧，我是这样讲啊。回家之后再过几天，我就去找这个老朋友，我说老朋友，把那天你给我吃的那个产品给我，真的很好，我肚皮也小了，我也掉了3个 kg 哦，哇，我吓了一跳，我本来是56 kg。53，我太高兴，我说减肥的给我，他说拜托好不好，子琳，这不是减肥的，这个消脂的，对你的脂肪说多余的脂肪可以排出来，又让你有精神。我成功了，我瘦了3 kg， 我的血脂很漂亮，我太高兴了，我爱你，我的老朋友，你最棒的。
Thank you, Ziling. Now she was actually one of the very first person to benefit from Celeva. And many of us were inspired when we watched her story, and many of us started on Celeva because of her. Okay. So for those of you, if you want to get a video from your friend who's invited you, just let them know. Okay. So Ziling's story is very inspirational. Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this thing called homocysteine. Just now remember I was talking about, now our body does produce homocysteine normally, but over time, because of lifestyle and so forth, it doesn't get rid of the homocysteine enough. And what this homocysteine does, it actually roughens up the blood vessels inside our blood. And when you remember when the blood vessel walls are very rough, that's when all the cholesterol can stick, and you actually can, start to build up all the what we call the plaques on it. Okay, so the other good thing about this choline complex is this, right? When you have the choline complex inside your body, it breaks down the fats and cholesterol, and of course that's what Ziling was encountering. The fats from the body gets, starts to get clear, and it goes into the poo and the pee. But also very important, the choline complexity helps to neutralize the homocysteine. So it also helps to neutralize these things that actually damages the blood vessels. So that's why this is very useful for those people who are looking to clear the plaques from your blood vessels and so forth, right? The choline complex, right? Improve your vascular health, and of course, in the process, it actually prevents heart attack and prevent stroke, right? So just to summarize the benefits of Celeva for the 3 highs is really this, okay? Help the cholesterol to rebalance back again. Typically bring your bad cholesterol down, balance back your triglyceride, which is the overall cholesterol. Now, it improves your liver function. It helps your fatty liver to get back to normal, restores itself. And very important, it's actually very good for your blood vessels, your heart vessels, right? It clears all the plaques from it. And in doing that, it helps to prevent stroke and heart attack. Okay, so this is really what Celeva does in a big nutshell, towards the 3 highs. Okay. Now, let me introduce you. Just now, you also heard Ziling talk about a little bit about Celagen. So now, let me go introduce you to of course, in the process of losing the visceral fats, you also lose weight. Okay, so that's the benefit of Saliva. So now let me introduce you to something called Selagen. Okay. All right, thank you. Now, if you have seen the video, you realize that Selagen is quite multifaceted, but today I'm just going to focus on the benefit it brings to the tree hives. Now, Selagen really works on the concept of cellular therapy. Now, as you all know, our body comprises of more than 100 trillion cells, and actually makes, is the most basic fundamental building block of our body. And if you think about it, all diseases, there's only one disease, right? And it's whether some cells in your body is not functioning properly. So for example, if your heart cells are not very healthy, that's why you get heart condition. Or your liver health is not very healthy, then you end up with issues related to liver and so forth. So if you're able to have a solution that can target it right down to the most fundamental cell level, then it becomes very potent. And this is where Selagen comes in, right? Selagen works at exactly right at the most fundamental cell level. Okay, what does it do? Firstly, it actually protects your health cells. It protects the health of your cells. And how does it do that? It's a very strong antioxidant. It actually removes the free radicals from the body. Now, secondly, more important is, when Selagen actually helps your damaged cells to repair themselves by doing what? By providing very high quality nutrients that the cells can use immediately. And when your cells are able to take in very good nutrients, it actually is able to cell repair itself and become healthier because of that. And as a result, when you have healthier cells, when your cells re-replicate themselves, it actually regenerate and make cells which are healthier. And that is how Selagen actually works at a most fundamental cell level, right? Now, why again is Selagen so effective? Again, remember the synergistic blended formulation, just like what in Selavan. So very similarly, right? Selagen is created by the scientists in Switzerland, who are well known for knowing how to blend, these very potent ingredients together. And these three ingredients that you see me actually circling up is a proprietary formulation that's only available to Selagen, right? And it's actually extracted from what we call the milk, or some people say is sperm, of deep sea wild salmon of herring, right? And then these ingredients are basically certified by the authorities before they send it down all the way to Switzerland, where then the scientists in Switzerland, very carefully blend them into Selagen. So this synergistic blending is actually very important, right? Now, second thing is really what we call co-extraction. Now, this, what we call the cellular nutrients are very, very fine molecular proteins, and proteins are very sensitive to heat. And why is Saligen so effective is because when we process it in Switzerland they have a proprietary technology that's able to extract that at very low temperature extracts the essence of the fish DNA out. And in doing so, the ingredients in, I always tell people the ingredients in Saligen, right, is liquid form, is actually live fish DNA, right? Because it's actually extracted under very cold extraction processes, and that gives it the ability to be very, very potent as a bioactive ingredient. Okay, so this cold extraction is also what gives Saligen that potency. And of course, the third thing is that it's fully digestible and very easily enter in the cell. Now, what does that mean? I always say that Saligen is not food for the body. It's basically food for the cells. Okay, when Saligen enters into the body, the way it's designed is actually protected against the stomach acid, gets into the small intestine, and then it gets into the bloodstream. And once it gets into the bloodstream, it's able to very quickly, the body will send it out to areas where it is needed. And when those cells are able to take in that very good nutrient, then it starts to repair itself, right? Again, you say all these are basically the sciences, lah. So let's look at some of the effects of Saligen, right? Now, the other thing that actually makes Saligen very self-reassuring is because it has a lot of certification from all over the world. Okay, now including in China, we are actually authorized to be sold in China because the China Health Authority actually tested a lot of boxes of Saligen to ensure that Saligen really does what it says. Now, more important is I want to bring you to the attention of this, what we call a BSCG certification, right? Saligen has a BSCG cert, which actually means that it is actually certified to be used by professional athletes without getting the fear of being detected for drugs and hormones. But of course, it's good news for us ordinary people, because then we are assured that Saligen itself doesn't have any drugs, no banned substance, and no hormones, and that's very, very key for all of us who are looking for safety. And of course, everybody know that the Swiss has been well known for years, okay, to produce products of the highest quality and of course the highest safety, right? Now, this was another one of our user called Mr. Lim, right? He was actually on high cholesterol drug for many years, and like what Dennis has just Josephine has just shared about Dennis lah. We all know that taking high cholesterol medication on a longer term is actually not good, okay? Because over time, it might affect the mind and leads to dementia and so forth, right? So for Mr. Lim was the same thing, but no choice because he didn't chance upon the solution. And luckily, the mom-in-law, who happened to be one of our consumer for Saligen and Saleva, introduced him to both Saligen and Saleva. And of course, after 3 months, again, he was able to see his high cholesterol indicators come down. So you can actually see that this was actually his before and after reading. Okay, so a combination of Saligen and Saleva is very potent for actually helping our body to balance back the cholesterol. Okay. Now over here, I'd actually like to invite my friend Nick. I think he's on the line. Nick, would you like to share with everybody your story?
Right. Thanks, Kit. For those of you who have heard it, please indulge, seek your patience. I've just shared this recently in Philippines, and I think some of you heard it, so it may sound like a broken record. But basically, is that both my parents were on the three highs. So being the only guy who is directly involved with two of them, I also inherited the three highs. I already know of my high blood tension, my high cholesterol and high tension in my earlier days, but because of medication, it has suppressed it. But my blood sugar was, though it was increasing, it was still under control. It was only then in mid of last year, about June, July, where it spiked to 9.1. And this was when my doctor says, hey, there's no can do, and we better do something about it. He wanted to start me on my diabetic program, which, of course, I know I'm well aware what diabetic program can be and what it can eventually put me through. So I said, okay, give me 3 months. Let me start something and I'll come back to you. he agreed, but he put me on some medication first, and I started taking Selagen. And I intentionally not do anything more out of the ordinary. That means I kept my regular routine. I eat the same amount of food, even the whatever that I've been avoiding or not avoiding, I maintain it, and the regular walks. I just wanted to be sure that Selagen was the one that changed it if it did, and it did. In first 3 months, there were not very much result, but in the subsequent months, in September onwards, it started dropping. I think what you can see from the slides is that it started coming down quite steadily until early February. That means a give and take about probably 6 to 8 months. It came down to a good 5.8, stabilizing at that point. Though it fluctuated a little to 6 occasionally, but when I had my medical review in late January, it was deemed to have stabilized at 6.1. So basically in a nutshell, in just 6 months, Selagen has brought it down from 9 to 6. And because of this reading, my doctor has actually reviewed my dosage and brought it down. But the better part of it was that I've also been monitoring my hypertension, my blood pressure, and it has also stabilized to about 130, 80, which is better than my previous results. And of course, the better part was, in fact, it surprised a lot of others, was that in the whole process, I lost 10 kg. Well, some of my friends joined me in this was because they wanted to lose the weight, but I did caution them that it doesn't really work directly in the same formula, because like one of my friends did, she took Selagen, though she have high sugar, she actually gained weight, and she was like, "Hey, your Selagen actually got me more weight than then." And the explanation later came from a doctor was that it was probably because Selagen goes for a certain part of your body, and in her case was she actually strengthened the bones. Her bones got heavier, and that's why she put on weight. But that weight did not multiply in terms of size. So it can happen that way, because at the end of it, you should also have some DNA matching that it will work. So at the end of the day, I'm still monitoring that it will go further down. I'm also beginning to start the Selagen to see the effect, and probably if this also come in, I'll have another testimony. So in the meantime, I'm just glad that I just don't want to be a sugar daddy, and since our runway is getting shorter, I think this is where I'd like to share this with whoever who have the similar issue of the 3 highs.
All right,
That's
Nick, I think that will be very useful to many people. I believe you are talking about starting Salava right now, Selagen.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, Nick. Okay. Now, some of us also know that, now I want to share this one because, when you talk about diabetes, sometimes it can actually lead to very dire circumstances, like, the leg, starts to get, and this is really what happened to Alex. Okay. I mean, we've known Alex for many, many years. Okay. A friend actually has told him about Selagen a long time back. And at that time, he was very resistant to kind of starting on Selagen, right? And Alex at that time has a very bad skin condition, right? And it didn't go away, right? I mean, there was itching, he couldn't sleep, and so forth. And he actually had a nickname called the MC King, right? But again, he was willing to live with that, right? Until such a time where he was actually diagnosed with diabetes. And you can actually see what happened to the food lah. The food started growing dark. The doctor telling him that he better do something. If not, that he might even run the risk of being amputated. And that was really what kind of like I would say shocked him into taking action. Okay, So he finally decided to take the friend's advice and started himself on Selagen, right? And after just 2 to 3 months, you can actually notice his readings like from his blood pressure dropping, his cholesterol dropping, but more important, his blood sugar started returning to normal. And you can actually see the differences, within 6 months of what happened to his food. And because of that, he was so happy about it all, right? And then eventually he put his whole family, everybody on Selagen. So it's really like a Selagen family. We still see him from time to time when he comes into the office, and it's always very enlightening to find that how many years he has actually been on Selagen. You can actually see that he's been on it for more than 10 years, and right now he's still faithfully keeping himself and his family healthy through taking that Selagen. Okay. Now, finally, I would just want to mention that sometimes despite all these things, and then things do happen. We hear of people getting stroke, and when you get hit with stroke, it can be very detrimental, right? To not just to the person but also to the family. And this is, to me, is where Selagen is also very useful. I myself has actually used that to also help some of my friends who suffer from stroke to recover. Okay, Joven, was a very good friend of one of our business partner, Hui Kiong, all right? And when she had stroke, her life totally went down all the way to the bottom. But, Hui Kiong, because, she was very familiar with Selagen, the oils and so forth, started encouraging her, to start herself on Selagen. And typically that's how we also recommend people who have stroke, in how to use it to recover, right? So she started taking 2 capsules of Selagen daily. Now, in addition to that, of course, Hui Kiong, who's also a trainer, also helped her friend Joan, to use meridian therapy to move the flow of blood and qi in the body. And you can actually see that within like 6 months, she, from the condition that you see on top, right, to right now at, in February 2021, you can actually see the big difference in her. And this is something that we have used for many years to help with stroke patients, right? So for some of you who do have loved ones who, for some reason, have encountered stroke, and you're actually looking for ways to be able to help them, then do, study what Selagen could do, talk to the friend who's actually invited you. And, stroke Selagen is one of the best tools we have actually to help people recover quickly from their stroke, right? Now, so Selagen, in a nutshell, the benefit for the 3 highs would be these, right? You have to counter chronic inflammation, which is a very, where our body undergo all the 3 highs is under constant attack. We have what we call chronic inflammation. Selagen is one of the best thing that you can have to counter the chronic inflammation. Now, when you repair and rejuvenate yourself, like you say, it helps your bodies to repair, whether it be the liver, the heart, and like you say, in the case of the stroke, it actually helps your body to recover itself. Now, another important thing, it actually reduces the glycemic index of of the carbohydrates you eat by 37%, which means that less of it gets converted into sugar, which is good news. So Selagen actually can help you, reduce the GI of the food that you take, especially if you love eating carbs and rice and so on, right? Now, an important ingredient in Selagen is also something that actually helps to repair the blood vessels, to make your blood vessels more elastic. In which case, you remember when I was talking about if your blood vessels get very stiff and so forth, that's where high blood pressure, is still one of the causes of high blood pressure. And Selagen actually helps to repair your blood vessels too. It protects your eyes from oxidative damage, it enhances your heart function, and also reduces the arterial plaque. Okay, now the bonus of it, of course, if you have loved ones who you're trying to find a solution to recover from stroke, I would say that Selagen is one of my better solutions, right? Now, Selagen and Celoa is really brought to you by, Avita. We have been around since 2007, and our specialization is really in, preventive wellness and anti-aging. Okay. Now, in all these 10 countries across Asia, we actually move our products through a network marketing business platform, right? And this is our CEO, right? Miss Lee. And she always say life is a gift. Never take it for granted. And then many of us, have suffer situations when loved ones are suffering and so forth, right? So, today's talk, hopefully inspire you that, there are options out there that we can consider. Okay. And right now we are available across all these 10 countries, of course, including Cambodia, right, which is our latest countries to be in the network. So if you're in these countries, the good news is, you can contact our officers and then find out, through your friend how you can actually get, to buy Selagen or Selava, right? Now, I would say who is Selagen and Selava best suited for? Okay, I would say, well, basically any adults age 23 and above, because once we are past the age of 23, our body really starts aging. Okay, so it is good. Now, those who have a family history of heart disease, diabetes, or high blood pressure and so forth, this is something you want to think about. Now, you have those who already eat well, exercise well, but still struggling to bring your cholesterol, whatever it is, back into control. Okay, this is again, one something that a solution that you can consider. Now, anybody with 1, 2, or all the 3 highs, and those that you wanting to reduce medication, if you know that taking long-term medication, is going to have a lot of detrimental side effects, and you're looking for a natural solution to be able to, basically lead you down the path of reducing this medication, then I would say that this solution is something you can look at. And of course, anybody who values prevention over cure. Okay, I always say prevention is always the best medicine. So if these are like, one of these describes you, this, talk is really meant for you today, right? Now, so your next step really starts today. How do you do it now? If you have not had your blood test or blood pressure measured, I highly encourage you to really get and do so, right? Don't put it off. Right, at least know whether your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and everything is okay, right? And because if you know that it's not, then at least you can do something about it, right? Now, I would say that make an effort to at least put in at least 30 minutes of exercise. Be it brisk walking. If you cannot do anything, at least do brisk walking. It'll be very, very beneficial to you. And of course, a healthy diet. If you're trying to lose fats, I actually would recommend that you reduce carbohydrate. That means less rice, less noodles, and so forth. Reduce your sugar and your salt, and of course, no processed food. And of course, finally, I would say that Selagen. If you're starting out on Selagen right now, I would say that I would recommend you take 2 Selagen a day for at least 3 months. Get your body. Give the body that boost to repair whatever that you need to, right? And of course, Selava, you can take up to 2 Selava. If you really want to lose quite a fair bit of the visceral fats and you want to speed it up, this is something you can consider taking like 2 Selava a day. And personally, my own self, I do take up to like 2 Salavas, especially on days where, I've been indulging in good food. And what I find that, with this routine, I'm still able to kind of maintain my normal lifestyle. Unfortunately, I do love, no, maybe you say fortunately, I do love to eat. Okay. So, and I think that, with this routine, it does help, keep me in the prime of health. Okay. Now, so the only thing I want to leave you is like, don't forget a lot of these conditions that we are experiencing right now takes a long time to develop. They didn't develop like, just a week ago, right? It takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, or even more than 10 years before they become like very serious. So if we are starting on this type of solution, don't expect a miracle cure, okay? Do not expect that once you take it within 1 or 2 weeks, you'll be back to the bounce. Some, of course, many people have reported good effects after taking about 3 months of it. So that's also something that you can monitor. But I would say, to be fair to yourself, give yourself a 6 to 12 months runway. Let your body go through several cycles of repairs, and then observe, the markers, right? The high blood pressure reading, the blood sugar reading, and so forth, and monitor how they progress over time. Okay, that would be my bit of advice, okay, for people who starting it up, right? So the good thing is, you know that today you are here because one of your friends really cares about your health, right? And they bothered to share this talk with you. And I would say that's my last piece of advice, right? Really start your Selagen and your Selava today. And if you want to do so, just contact the friend who invited you and find out from them how you can get started, okay? And with that, I will now open the floor to questions. Now you can type it into the chat. or you can just unmute yourself and ask me questions or whatever it is. I'll help to answer as best I can, based on my experiences. And I'm just gonna stop share here and then bring everybody back to thing. Yes. Does anybody have any questions or thing? You can just type in the chat group if you feel that you don't want to talk about. Yeah. Or you're more than welcome to just unmute yourself and just ask the question. Okay, do we have any questions from anyone on the floor? The floor is open right now. Oh, unless I've given a very good comprehensive talk. Okay, I guess if there's no questions, again, I thank you very much for sharing your precious hour with me. And I, wish that all of you good health and good wealth. Okay, and I look forward to meeting many of you, soon, maybe in Singapore, and then we can have a good chat. Okay, all right.
Can we have a picture?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Well,
can you
everybody would
on
like
your
to
video?
turn on the video. We can take a group photo.
Yeah.
All right, Edwin, can you help us to take that grand photo?
Okay, ready to take? Come,
Yeah.
everybody, turn on your video and smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice one, everyone. Looking beautiful.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you,
Kate.
Kate.
See you
Bye-bye.
all soon.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kate. Thank you,
Kate.
Josh, for your
See
sharing.
you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Thank you,
Bye bye. Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Everyone. See you all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Last up, go out already. Oh, so fast. She did a good job. All the spotlight
Bye, Papa.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for making time. Bye, Sivan.
Bye, Popa. Thank you.
Bye, Rose. Haven't got time to speak to you yet, Rose.
Okay.
Bye, Derek. Bye, Pauline. Oh, okay.
You should put the people into the waiting room before your talk, like what? Oh, Lam So, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did a
okay.
good job and all that. There's so many guests still around there,
Mm.
Okay, well done,
Okay.
Kate.
1 hour exactly.
Wait, let me stop the recording.